Hi there, I'm your host, Marlene McConnell, and welcome to the Surviving Trauma Stories of Hope podcast. In this week's episode, I am so excited to welcome Edith Beekes from the United Kingdom. Edith is a holistic mentor, success habit coach, a #1 best-selling author, Humanitarian Award winner, and international speaker. She works with clients on releasing long-lasting pains, blockages, ancestral defects, and emotional traumas so they could live fulfilled and joyful lives. Edith originally was a petroleum engineer, working in the petroleum industry for 15 years before becoming a life coach full-time. During those years, she trained to become a Reiki Master, a Sekhem Healer, and a Karma Yogi Practitioner under the teachings of Karma Guru Sumant Kaul, strengthened her extra senses, and worked on several family constellation therapies. She learned life coaching from the Satori Prime brothers, who based their work on landmark approaches, and was trained by Bob Proctor, who is known for his appearance as a featured expert in the movie The Secret. While living in New Zealand, she was a member of the Reiki NZ Incorporated. In this episode, we speak about past lives, emotional traumas and how to heal them, blockages, different aspects of trauma healing, how Reiki can help you heal, how as a Karma Yogi Practitioner, Edith can stand in service to those in need, and we also touched on ancestral trauma and how that impacts our lives in our present lifetimes. It has been my pleasure to have Edith join me, and I know you will love this episode. Thank you to my listeners for joining me on this journey. Comment on the posts on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Let me know what you think of the episode. Also head to Amazon.com, Takealot.com, and now Audible.com to get your copy of my book, Ray of Light. And please leave me a rating and review. It means the world to me. Also, please check my website and download your free meditation and journal prompt on the resources page. As always, stay tuned and keep listening. Hi, Edith. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's awesome having you here.
Hi, Marlene, and hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for our conversation today because, as a survivor of trauma, it's always, fascinating for me to listen and see how some masters and professionals have dealt with the healing journey following a traumatic experience in different ways. And the work that you do brings that sort of to life for me. But just for the listeners, can you tell us, Edith, what is it that you do?
I help people to release actually traumatic experiences and heal from traumas. That's my main thing. What I do, but I also help with ancestral defect and karma healing. And I also help them to live more mindfully, and also to get into a higher vibration and be in a positive mindset, which is really important also for the healing.
Right. Okay. So, I've heard you touch on 3 things. It's the releasing of the actual trauma. There's also, working with the different vibrations and sort of helping them change their mindset. Is there a certain point in the recovery journey that this treatment is most effective?
Yeah, so basically I started with Reiki. I was first a Reiki Master when I experienced my panic attacks. That's what I learned first, Reiki, to deal with my panic attacks. And then I realized that I was able to manage it, but I did not stop it. So whenever I felt the attack, I was able to calm myself down and feel better for a couple of months, but then the attack was again, so it wasn't a proper solution. It was more just a managing thing. But when I learned about the Karma Yoga healing, it was a very profound experience, because that was actually the source memory healing, which really addressing the trauma and going in there into the buried in trauma, which is buried in the unconscious mind, reaching that trauma and releasing the negative emotions from that trauma, which is help to actually create the forgiveness energy, and then not getting triggered anymore by the same situation. So that was actually changed my life completely when I started to heal from my physical and mental issues through this source memory healing. That was like mind blowing for me, like how powerful it is and how suddenly certain illnesses, which were like a coming back patterns, in every months or every year, like those was able to stop, and then I haven't seen them since, like in the last 6 years. So it's so profound, and this actually can help with mental and physical illnesses as well, because what is happening to our body, that when we get triggered by certain outside informations or our own thoughts or some circumstances, we feel triggered. That means we're experiencing negative emotions, we react through negative emotions. That actually has a core. That's why we're doing that. That has a root in a trauma which is buried in the unconscious mind. And until we don't release that, those triggers will come back all the time and will create the same negative emotion. And if you piling it up, eventually it's blocking your chakras, the energy centers in your body, which affecting your physical organs and creating diseases in your body. So that's why when people say, oh, I had actually no trauma, but I have triggers. Like, I don't remember my traumas, but I have triggers. It still means you have traumas to release, because the triggers eventually become diseases.
Mm-hmm. This is fascinating, because I think that unless you've experienced something that was an actual event that, was not something that you could easily just suppress, right? That sometimes we just something happens to us, it makes us feel really uncomfortable, and we just suppress that memory. And I agree with you. I think that the subconscious mind holds so much of the trauma that we experience. So you've been quoted to say that time doesn't heal, right? But the traumas are actually buried in the subconscious mind. So how would you work with your clients to help them to access, especially for someone that says, oh, I don't know what it is. I don't know why I feel this way. I don't know why I act this way. I don't know why I don't like it when I get the smell of pine trees, for example, So how do you help them to access those memories in the unconscious mind?
Yeah, so basically we start with a transcendental meditation. So we get transcended into the subconscious through a meditation. And then we are able to actually ask the unconscious mind, connect with our own unconscious mind and ask it to bring the memories which are related with our current issue. We actually fine tune this process by asking the client, like, what emotions you feel related to your issue. What are the emotions? What negative emotions are coming up when you actually think about that issue? And then where do you feel the sensation in your body? So this is the things what can connect the unconscious mind with the memory, which is related to it. And then actually it's going to bring it into your awareness, into your mind suddenly. And then you can go through that memory and experience it. And in my case, I don't need to know actually what the client went through. Some people are not going to therapy or not going for healing because they are ashamed or feel guilt around it, what happened to them. And they are like, I don't want to share with anyone. I don't feel comfortable to share. In this process, you don't need to share, basically. You go into that memory and then you just share maybe the emotions, but I had even clients who didn't share the emotions, but that's fine as long as you collect it in yourself. And then I go through the release process and they actually place it into my release sentences within their mind. And that still works.
Wow. Yeah. It's actually a very effective technique, because I'm thinking that I once had a conversation with a therapist out in Colorado in the United States. And one of the things that she mentioned, which I'm also hearing here in the transcendental meditation that you're bringing to the fore, is that even in psychotherapy, with a therapist or a psychologist, you don't have to talk necessarily about the event. If the event comes to the fore, it almost happens organically, and that's great. But it's not about the event, but it's rather about how it's impacting you in your life today.
Mm-hmm. I understand.
Right. So if you work within the unconscious mind, for me, when we're healing trauma, there are so much literature around trauma that we have basically brought through from previous lives, and we've brought them through our generations, right? Generational trauma. Do you find that through your process of transcendental meditation that you stumble upon traumas that for your patients have existed in either a past life or a previous generation? And then if you do, how do you deal with that?
So basically, when we do this source memory healing process, is sometimes past life memories just pop up the same way as this lifetime memories. So it comes organically. So the unconscious mind is able to go in any layers. So it's picking up. Usually, when I start working with a client, first is always childhood traumas, younghood traumas, or this lifetime traumas. But as soon as we go through on those, then the past life trauma starts to appear, and we need to heal those eventually. So it's of course it depends on the situation we work on, what is the situation is happening, what trauma is actually related to it, but very often it's actually coming up past life traumas very easily, organically, just with communicating with the unconscious mind. The other thing what you were mentioning about the ancestral trauma is more about, it could be ancestral karma, which means we are actually carrying certain disease from childhood or from birth or younghood. If we actually taking some ancestral karma, that's why it's happening to us. When someone was born with a disease, it's definitely ancestral defect or ancestral karma. But when you actually saying that there are patterns like in DNA line, that the uncle or the aunt had a breast cancer and my mom had a breast cancer and I have a breast cancer, that kind of pattern is coming from subconscious beliefs and behaviors. And that's why, because they react a certain way towards certain triggers. And that reaction, how they behave, is actually the child, when she's growing up, she's actually taking that in, that kind of behavior, that kind of belief system, when she's like under 7 years old and growing up with the mother. And then she's taking in the same behavior, the same way of reacting to similar triggers. So that's how the behavior is coming. So how to stop that is basically with actually doing the trauma healing as well, but also finding out that why that behavior started and basically why that pattern exists, and then reprogramming the subconscious mind that the person actually doesn't need to behave that way anymore. There is a new way of behavior what she can implement.
I'm intrigued by this because I'm a cancer survivor. And, I used to say, and I think when I was diagnosed, the doctor said, you know what, Marlene? I said, well, we don't have any cancer in our family, so I don't know where this comes from. And she said to me, well, you know what? Cancer did not get that memo. I'm glad that you think that, but they didn't get the memo. And it wasn't until many years later that I realized that I only really thought about it in the context of my mom's lineage. I never thought of it in the context of my dad's. And when I had these discussions with my dad, it was actually on his side.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I can see how, and also we had the discussion around sort of, his life, my grandmother on his side, his brothers and sisters, his life, and my father's also a cancer survivor, and then me. And it just made so much sense to me. But at the time, I didn't even realize it, that it did form part of my ancestral birth line, but not through my mom. It was through my dad.
So I can also explain you, like the breast cancer, what emotions are actually triggering breast cancer or what is happening there, because it's related to the heart chakra. So basically is the guilt, shame, sorrow, grief, abandonment by parents, heartbreak. And so these are the emotions. If you experience those emotions, that can create actually blockage in the heart chakra and then breast cancer as well.
I've always, Edith, attributed it to, and I don't know why am I talking about me, but anyway, I always attributed it to a deep sense of resentment. As a trauma survivor, I was extremely angry for a very, very, very long time. And I just let that anger sort of fester unchecked until eventually it just became resentment. And I operated from that deep, unconscious place of resentment. And so I've always attributed that cancer diagnosis to having lived with those emotions, those dark emotions. So it's interesting,
yes,
how there is, in fact, a blockage that happens in your chakras. So perhaps you can explain to me, what role do the chakras in the body play in overall healing from a traumatic experience?
Yeah, so we don't have just the physical body, but we also have an energy body as well. And the energy centers are basically the chakras. And there is 7 main chakra, which is in our body. And it's so fascinating that they are perfectly aligned with our gland system. And our glands are exactly where they connected to our glands. And then when they actually start blocking themselves, like because of the emotions, then it's affecting the glands production as well, which is also hormonal production. And because it's affected the hormonal production, also your emotional is affected because hormones affecting the emotions. So you can get into actually a cycle of being in negative emotions by this whole situation of the glands and the energies. So basically, the good thing to do. So how to actually allow the chakras to get balanced and have a clean energy flow basically in the body, which is also helping the physical body's health, is make sure you are in a good mood, in a positive vibration, means that your emotions are in a positive vibration. That's when the mindfulness coming in. That's why I need to actually teach the clients for mindfulness and how to be in a positive vibration all the time, if possible. And that's like when they need to understand that there is 3 things you can control. You can control your emotions, your thoughts, and your actions. And that's what you need to focus on. And what you cannot control, you need to let it go, basically. And then how you are able to control is that the meditation, which I also always promote, the transcendental meditation, to them to practice daily, on a daily basis. Because what happens with this transcendental meditation, it's when you transcend into the subconscious mind. It's not, every meditation is different. Like there are so many meditations out there, like thousands kind, So when people say, oh, I meditate, that doesn't mean they use the same meditation, It's like thousands of times. So basically this meditation, which I do with my clients, is the transcendental meditation when we activate the pineal gland, and then we also activate through that the third eye. And this also allows you to transcend into the subconscious. So it's not just calming the monkey mind, it's actually transcend you, which means there's always quiet there. And what's happening, you get into that brainwaves when you start to produce the necessary hormones, what you normally produce at deep sleep, which means the serotonin, oxytocin, growth hormone, and the melatonin. So it's eventually, when you practice this meditation daily, it's going to make you a kinder and more positive person. Also, it's going to make you a more vital body because of the growth hormone, a better sleep because of the melatonin, and a better mood because of the serotonin. So basically, you start to feel that you are more calm, you are more resilient, you are more peaceful as you practice it more and more. And that helps you to stay in a higher vibration. Because some people comes to me and like, how can I be grateful? How can I be in positive vibration in my emotions when I feel so low, I am depressed, I have all of these negative emotions? And that's what I recommend them first to start with this meditation, basically. So there is a free version on my YouTube channel, so everybody can start there as well.
Thank you. Thank you. We're definitely going to link that in the show notes so everyone can check it out. I'm also very interested in checking it out. We often hear, people talk about low and high vibrations, and you've touched on that, but I've never actually heard it being described in such a logical way, the way that you've just actually described it, because we hear about the low and the high vibrations, but how does it actually work physiologically in changing your mindset, right? In changing that outcome? Because I say if your vibration is low, then it opens the doors for negative things to attach to you and to come into your life. And if your vibration is high, then there's a better chance that, you have positive and good things coming to you and attaching to you. Have you had experiences like this with your clients where in the different vibrations, they've had experiences that perhaps were more dark and didn't quite belong to them?
Yes, absolutely. So when they come to me, they mostly in the low vibration, obviously. So they angry, they depressed, they feel betrayed, they feel all kinds of negative emotions. That's when they are in low vibration, and then their aura is broken. And that's when they experience that they having negative habits or certain things is going on in their life, which is make them even more stressed and anxious, like the circumstances. And as they start to raise their vibration, obviously they get into the awareness, like more channeling also intuitively, like what is good for them, and they start to take care of themselves even more. So it's like they realize that, oh, I need more time for myself. I need to put boundaries. I need to take do like self-care. I need to eat more healthy, because as you raise your vibration and you get into those higher vibrational frequencies through the positive emotions, and also through the meditation, when you connect basically to the divine and you actually invoking the light from above, that's also helping to raise your vibration, and activating the chakras is also helping you to raise your vibration. So basically, as they get into that vibration, then they understand like how to take care of themselves better, and that's also keep them longer there, basically.
So you were talking earlier about the fact that we have a sort of an energy self, like we're almost sort of these multi-dimensional beings, and you describe the inner and the outer. Do you want to sort of just expand and elaborate a bit about that, and how understanding that can help us in our healing journey?
Yeah, so basically this multidimensional existence is not just like physical and energy body, but we have like many layers, many layers. The ancestrals also are in our layers. Our karma or our past lives are also in our layers. Also our higher dimensional part, like the higher self, in the 5D is also part of these layers. So basically how this affecting our life is a huge thing. It's not because many people is focusing on only this physical body. They don't acknowledge that there is other things which is affecting them. But very often when you feel low, when you feel negative emotion, is not even coming from you. Very often might you picking it up in a crowd. Very often it's happening to you because someone thought negative things of you, like have a cord of attachments to you and start draining your energy. Or there are so many outside of energies which can impact you daily basis and causing you certain frustrations and triggers. So basically, to understand these layers, it's gonna open you up for the more like seeking of solutions, like more kinds of solution, like how can I actually live a much peaceful and calmer life? How can I make sure that I am healthy and happy if I know about all of these layers? Basically, to start healing these layers, healing your karma, healing your ancestral defect, healing your traumas. Those are all your layers which needs to be cleared, energetically, and then doing this energy works, also even doing like Reiki or opening up the chakras with even crystals, it's all helping to make this harmonized, these layers, and make you and keep you actually healthier and happier.
If I think about, all these multidimensional layers and how you can have some of the things attached, what can you look out for in your life? What does it look like when you say to yourself, you know what? I think I need to see a karma yogi. Or, you know what? I think it's time I go see a Reiki master. What does that look like in your life? Are you always tired? Do you have habits now, new habits that you never had before? Do you not engage well in your relationships, or are you stuck in the same thing over and over again? Can you share with us, what does it look like when you say to yourself, I need a karma yogi?
You actually gave amazing, how can I say, amazing examples. You gave really amazing examples because this is what is like
Oh,
happening.
okay.
Yeah. So basically, one could be like addiction, like when you have addictions or certain patterns or habits which was suddenly came, and then you don't know like why you are doing those, and you feel maybe stuck because of those habits. You feel like your life is not going anywhere. You feel lost, or you feel like stuck energies, like why I'm doing all of these things, why is nothing happening, why I'm the certain area of my life is not leveling up, or for example, they could even feel physical illnesses, when these get to the point that they have physical illnesses, pain in certain area of their body, that could be a big thing that, okay, now I need basically find out what is the root of that pain, and I need to get around it, and not just going to a doctor or take a painkiller, and then basically,
Yeah.
yeah. And then the other thing is that what does it mean to have ancestral defect in the family line is if they experienced abortion or early child death or an accident in a young person in the family. That's always showing that there is an ancestral defect in the family line. Or if there is like situations which feels like not improving in the family, or as you said, there is a relationship issue going on in the family continuously, like arguments all the time, fighting all the time. That's kind of like an ancestral defect energy which needs to be cleared from the family line. And then the karma, it could be, when we experience certain challenges or obstacles, that could be also because of karma, because we did something in the past life, we betrayed someone, we caused someone the same issue, and now we are getting it back, and then we might gonna be receive that karma several times in our lifetime, so that can be also stopped certain betrayers. Or if you see a betrayer pattern, or if you see for example, I had clients who said that she was abused several times, so it's like always attracting the people who's abusing her, right? So then that has to be clear too through this. So these are all a sign that is something much deeper going on there, it's not just they are unlucky, or not just they have making bad choices,
Yeah.
it's not about that. Is also is energetically coming those lessons into their life.
Wow. I'm thinking about just the average person that has feels like they're about to break. There's so much going on. They've got to kind of keep this together. They don't understand why these things are happening. And I mean, if I'm listening to you now, it would be life-changing for them if they could actually get an answer that tells them, you know what, this addiction, there is a reason why you're experiencing it. I think sometimes if we have a better understanding of why things are happening, it's
Yes,
easier for us to
absolutely.
accept and then to do something about it. Yeah, I mean, I find it fascinating. And it if you had to say, I mean, we've spoken about past lives and you've mentioned past lives again. How much of our past lives, you've spoken about the karma that you bring with you sometimes from a past life, how much of our past lives do we actually bring in that manifests in when we incarnate into our current life?
A lot, because what we go through in past life, we also go through experiences, we learn skills, we actually gaining knowledge, all of those wisdom, and whatever we go through, we bring it with ourselves. How much we can implement it or use it, it depends on how much we allow ourselves to liberate ourselves and feel like empowered, and motivated, and getting the intuition to follow our visions and our paths. Some people who couldn't open their third eye and they feel lost. They feel lost because their third eye is closed and they worry about the future. They have fear about the future. But as soon as they practice this meditation, this transcendental meditation is opening up, they start to have like breadcrumbs from the universe. They suddenly start to see their visions and their paths, their purpose, that's how I would say. And then they will be more intuitive about guidance as well. They would have like that good feeling much stronger, to follow. And that's going to help them a lot
Yes.
to actually find a path which is more fulfilling. So when they are allow themselves to connect to that energy, connect to that intuitive energy which coming to them, it also includes what they're supposed to do in this lifetime. It also includes the past life skills and past life knowledge and experiences coming in more. And even the people who they had connection in past life, they might start to appear more in their life when they do this energy work, basically.
So even if you were connected with somebody in a past life, you can reconnect with them in this life.
Yeah, but in a different circumstances. Might you need to reconnect with them because you have karma to solve with them, to resolve with them. That's also a possibility. Might you reconnect with them because they are part of your soul family or part of your experience, like you are going to create something together, and sometimes who were maybe your father, it becomes your brother, who was maybe your son becomes your husband. So it's gonna be a mixed up story there. But what I'm saying is that sometimes even you attract people to actually resolve karma with them. Might you cause some karma to someone in past lives and then now they appear and it's allowing you to resolve that karma. But that's what I'm saying. If your third eye is closed, if you're not activating the chakras properly, then you won't have this experience,
Mm-hmm. I hear what you say about having to open the third eye and, through the source memory meditation that you do. But I mean, if I just think about my own life, like there are people in my life that have just been there with me for so many years. And it's, it's the kind of relationships where, no time has passed if you haven't seen this person and you just kind of pick up. But they're always, even if you don't see them, they're like a constant force. You'll always find bits of them within your environment. And when that happens to me and I find those bits within my environment, it's almost reassuring to me that you're almost divinely protected because there are people here with you. And of course, people in the spiritual world, in a different realm that is also looking after you. Speaking of a different realm, one of the things in the healing journey, I like to call it my courage and surrender experience. When healing and you opening your mind and your subconscious mind and your unconscious mind up to other possibilities in the search for meaning and purpose, because I find that very often people who have an experience that is traumatic, they search for that meaning and purpose, first in why it happened to them, and then secondly in what is now their purpose to do with it and to give to the world. In that search, sometimes the surrender experience can lead to open up, other realms. So when it comes to angels and spirit guides, how do you think in a surrender experience or in an awakening experience following a traumatic event, what role do you think they play in that healing journey?
So angels can provide energetic healing as well. So they can actually do physical healing on you or actually send you messages or how to heal yourself. So basically helping on your healing. Spirit guides are more in creating connection with other humans as well, and then even interacting with the physical realms on a very magical way that they can literally interact with physical things as well. And that's so fascinating. So I have an example I love to I love to say about this, like just how the dimensions are connected, like the higher dimensions, how can they impact a lower dimension? Because we are in 3D,
Yeah.
we can be easily accessed through someone who's in the 5D and interact in our dimension without us to like knowing it. So it's basically when you imagine that there is a piece of paper, that's the 2D, right? So when you see a cartoon, that's like a cartoon, like two figures on a cartoon, that's a 2D. And imagine that there is a man and a woman, you draw a man and a woman, and then in the drawing, the
Yeah.
woman is say, oh, I wish for a cup of coffee. And you draw a cup of coffee in the hand of that woman.
Yes.
That woman would be like, wow, where is this came from? Because she's in 2D as drawing, but you from the 3D, you just drop that cup of coffee there and they have like no clue who the heck you are. So it's the same thing, like spirit
Yeah.
guides, they can literally physically interact, they can send in spirit animals to you, they can change things, in the physical realm,
Yeah.
physical things, they can manipulate for you to actually send you to a direction, to actually guide you somewhere. So that's what the spirit guides does. And the spirit guides are always there. So you don't need to ask them. They just do their work, without you asking them. Angels are more, the angels is like coming when you ask them. So for angels, you need to reach out to ask them to come because they are very free will.
Okay.
And then you have the free will. So it's like they don't interact only if you ask them. So basically for angels, you need to reach out and say you need help, you need support, you need healing, and so on and so forth.
So that's fascinating. So I guess, like prayer again and meditation and would be ways of communicating. And I suppose telepathy too, because sometimes we can't really muster the words, but that would also be sufficient to call on them to help
Yeah.
to help us when we need it.
Mhm.
I mean, we've touched on so many different aspects of the healing journey following a traumatic experience, and I just want to come back again to again the mindset. Right? You've been quoted as saying that we can be our worst enemies when it comes to our healing journey. But we need to actually get out of our way in order to achieve that healing and that fulfillment and that happiness. So what advice do you have for someone to actually get out of their own way and get on with it?
Yeah. So basically, when we do Reiki healing, for example, we send Reiki healing to someone if it's like a distance healing. It's always good also to talk to that people, not just send the healing and it's always the best to send the healing when it's at night, they sleep. So they don't have any thought patterns, they can't like think about negative thinking when we actually do the energy work. So we send the healing, but they also need to promise that next day they are in positive mindset, so we need to explain them that you actually need to train yourself to think positive, to have like a positive outlook out of the life, to not to react to things, but more like respond. Or if you see that there is reaction, like circumstances what causing you stress, then for a couple of days or for that week, eliminate those things while the healing is going on. But because basically, if I heal them at night with Reiki, next day, just thinking negative and being in the worry and panicking and in the fear, that can ruin the whole healing. And that's why it's important to talk to them about how positive is it but how important is it to be in a positive mindset, because they don't fall back into the pattern. I also had experience that I started to heal people from depression or panic attacks, and then they were like saying like, yeah, I feel that I got healed, I feel that it got released, but I still wake up in the morning and I'm thinking like, what if it still hit me? What if
Yeah.
it's still gonna come
Yeah.
back? Because it was like so long they were experiencing it, that, they were so long under that um, experience that they feel fearful, like what is coming. And then that's when they need to start reprogramming the subconscious mind and tell affirmations to themselves that I am strong, I am healed, I'm fine. And then it's actually only my thoughts, which is causing issues right now. So basically they need to understand that they need to get out of their own way by being more in the present moment, enjoying whatever they do, focusing on their five senses, so they don't get into thought patterns, negative thought patterns. So that's why I recommend, for example, start cooking different dishes which you never cooked before. So then you need to focus on the cooking, or take a different road to your work or to school, not driving on the same road all the time, because then you don't need to think of the road. So make it as like a routine to actually get out of the routine, because when everybody say it's so good to have a routine, but it's also get you into autopilot, and allow yourself to thinking might about worrying thoughts, So the focusing on the present moment and about your five senses is so important on your healing journey, basically being the conscious mind until you are able to really reprogram your subconscious mind and it's aligned with your conscious decision. Because what is your conscious decision? That you want to change, you want the healing, you want to be healthy, you want to be a better person. So, but your subconscious mind is probably saying different in your beliefs or in your fears or habits. So that's what needs to be reprogrammed to align with that.
This is so fantastic. It's actually, I'm listening to what you're saying, Edith, and, I was given exactly this advice. Change the routines and do something as simple as taking a different road from home to work and work home. Even if you stop on the way, you get out, you do some window shopping, you get back in your car and you drive. It's something different. Like if you're used to eating the same food, eat something different. And then the last thing was do something for yourself that nobody can take away from you. It's not a relationship. It's not a job. It's something completely different within you. So I learned another language because it was something that nobody can take from me. But I had to spend time to understand it, I had to be focused on that. And it brought me out of the stuck ways that I was in that was so tied to my trauma. So this is amazing nuggets that you've just shared with the listeners. And also at the same time, it raises our vibration, right? Because we feel so good and accomplished. It feels like you can do anything, even though it's just something small that you've done.
Yes.
And it also cultivates hope. I think it cultivates hope. Edith, you are also a best-selling author, and I know that your book is available on Amazon. Do you want to briefly, is there anything that you feel inspired to share with us about your book?
This is the book On the Healer's Journey.
On the Healer's Journey.
Yeah. So it's a coaching book for seekers, basically people who's going through a spiritual awakening and or want to be a light worker, because many of us who's actually going through a spiritual awakening and going through the dark night of the soul and then coming out of it and being happy about it and learning modalities, and they eventually feel that I want to help others as well, because I'm so grateful that I actually was able to overcome, and now it's gonna be amazing that I could help others. So this book is actually helping those people to stay on track, to actually accept themselves that they meant to do that thing, and then to support them that how to actually stay grounded, how to actually put boundaries, how to deal with family or friends who's not accepting their journey, or how to actually stay healthy during this journey and not losing hope, and just stay on track basically, and feel how powerful they are. So this book is about that basically.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. And there are so many people who I know of that gets to this point and feel like there's something that they want to do. There's something that they want to give back, but it's very difficult to completely understand exactly where you can fill that gap in this world. And so, Edith, it's been such a pleasure having you on my podcast. I'm happy that you've stretched our minds, not only as it relates to the healing journey following a traumatic experience, but you've also done so, beyond only this universe. You've also taken us into different realms and brought some much needed understanding into our lives. And you've made us aware of all the other realms, and when it comes to identifying our traumas and how to heal. And, I think that, just the everyday person perhaps don't make these connections. And sometimes people are afraid of the unknown, but you've articulated and explained this so beautifully. And of course, the work that you do is a safe place that facilitates and helps someone. And I'm so glad that I could feature that for the listeners here today. So thank you for connecting. And thank you so much for sharing with us. I appreciate it. This message, I feel, is very timely, and I feel that it's here for the ones that it's meant to find.
Thank you, Marion. It was my pleasure.
All right. So I will leave all your links in the show notes, and you're welcome to join me again at any time. Take care.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye. That wraps up this podcast episode. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy my podcast, please take a minute to give me a rating and review in Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe in your favorite podcast directory so you don't miss an episode. Please consider following My Centered Life on Facebook and Instagram for daily inspiration. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. You can catch me again in the next episode, same time, same place. Sending you lots of love and light. Bye.